best there was and the best there ever will be.
The man, the myth, the legend. Yup, that's him.
Oh, sugar ducky quack quack.
Hey, yo, what's the word? What's the word? Welcome back to another episode of The Cheap Truth with your boy Justin J. Will, or whatever you want to call me. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Hope you can hear me real well through your speakers, your headphones, your $200 AirPods, whatever you may be doing right now, wherever you may be listening to this from. I appreciate you for dropping in, checking in on your boy, because as always, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you decided to be here with me. And so for that, I appreciate it. So on today's episode of The Cheap Truth, I'm going to talk about the Brian Flores lawsuit and the lack of diversity in the NFL when it comes to black head coaches. So let's hop right into it. All right, so former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores is suing the NFL as a staff, as a company, as a record label, and as a mother crew. Which I know that Tupac hit him up, man. But anyway, in all seriousness, Brian Flores is suing the NFL along with three teams: the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos, and the New York Giants, alleging discrimination regarding his interview processes with Denver and New York, and his firing last month by Miami. So this ESPN article reads, Flores alleges that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross attempted to incentivize him to tank or purposely lose games shortly after he was hired in 2019, with Ross allegedly offering Flores $100K for every loss that season. Flores says that as the team won games late in the season, Dolphins general manager Chris Greer told him Ross was mad that the on-field success was compromising the team's draft position. It also says here that additionally, Flores alleges that Ross pressured him into recruiting a prominent quarterback at the end of the 2019 season. Now, it doesn't say which quote-unquote prominent quarterback they're talking about, but from what I've read, I think it was Tom Brady. So anyway, Flores refused the meeting and left the yacht. Afterward, Flores alleges he was treated with disdain and held out as someone who was non-compliant and difficult to work with. So he was fired on January 10th. Despite recording the Dolphins' first back-to-back winning seasons since 2003. So he went 10-6 in 2020 and 9-8 in 2021, which is amazing because I think they started off like 1-7, if I'm not mistaken. And also, you know, Tua was injured for more than a few games. So the fact that they were able to finish over 500 is pretty amazing, pretty remarkable. But anyway, they fired him. Flores also alleged that the Giants interviewed him last month for their head coaching vacancy for no other reason than compliance with the NFL's Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview minority candidates for their open positions. Flores alleges that he spoke with the Giants via Zoom on January 18th prior to the team hiring former Buffalo Bills assistant general manager Joe, I can't pronounce his last name, Schoen or Schoen, as its GM on January 23rd. He said that the next day, the GM finalized his interview date for January 27th, and Giants co-director of player personnel Tim McDonald texted Flores saying he hoped he would come in and win the effing job. However, hours later, Flores lawsuit alleges he received a series of text messages from Patriots coach Bill Belichick, under whom Flores worked for 10 years in New England. In those texts, Belichick told Flores he had heard from Buffalo and the New York Giants that you are their guy. So it says here, basically, I'm going to paraphrase here, that Flores, was asking Bill Belichick to clarify what he meant because, he hadn't interviewed with the team yet. So, Flores asked Belichick to clarify whether he meant to talk to him or Brian Daboll, who was also in the running for the Giants job. Belichick acknowledged his error and informed him that the Giants wanted Daboll. Flores alleges that his January 27 interview with the Giants, which satisfied the Rooney Rule because he was the first minority candidate to interview in person, was a sham. New York went on to hire Daboll, the former Bills offensive coordinator, a day later. And also it says here that, he was in a similar scenario with the Broncos back in 2019. He set up an interview with John Elway, the general manager for the Denver Broncos, and he allegedly showed up to the interview drunk and an hour late and hungover, amongst other things, I guess. So, of course, these teams have denied any wrongdoing, and they've already released statements. So the Giants said that they were pleased and confident with their hiring process. We interviewed an impressive and diverse group of candidates, the team said. The fact of the matter is Brian Flores was in the conversation to be our head coach until the 11th hour. Ultimately, we hired the individual we felt was most qualified to be our next head coach. The Dolphins vehemently denied the allegations against the team. Denied the allegations against them, while noting they are proud of the diversity and inclusion throughout our organization. The implication that we acted in a manner inconsistent with the integrity of the game is incorrect, the team said. And the Broncos detailed their January 5th, 2019 interview with Flores, saying it started promptly at 7:30 a.m. in Providence, Rhode Island, lasted 3.5 hours, and was conducted with 5 team executives. Pages of detailed notes, analysis, and evaluations from our interview demonstrate the depth of our conversation and sincere interest in Mr. Flores as a head coaching candidate, the team said. Our process was thorough and fair to determine the most qualified candidate for our head coaching position. The Broncos will vigorously defend the integrity and values of our organization and its employees from such baseless and disparaging claims. Woo! Man, that hot fire flame. What Dylan said, that hot fire. Woo! Man, Broncos went playing. So first of all, shout out to Brian Flores for having the courage to do something like this and file a lawsuit, because it is very possible that he will never, ever work in the NFL ever again because of this lawsuit. Not as a head coach, not as an assistant coach, not as a defensive coordinator, not as a ball boy, not as a janitor, not as somebody who works in the parking lot, as somebody who works in the lunchroom, nothing. None of that. Because of this lawsuit right here. So I got to commend him for that, for having the courage and willing to basically put his career on the line. I mean, we saw what happened with Colin Kaepernick when he did something similar in protesting against the shooting of unarmed black men by police officers and speaking out against social injustice. They got Colin Kaepernick the hell up out of there. And we haven't heard from him since. So if the NFL doesn't like something you're doing, they will get you the hell up out of there. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that this could happen to Brian Flores. Now, as far as the actual lawsuit is concerned, I do lean toward believing Brian Flores. And I understand that some people probably think that this is just him complaining and that this is him just being mad that he didn't get chosen for any of the head coaching positions, and that he's mad about getting fired by the Miami Dolphins. I get that, but I just don't believe that he would go to this extreme and put his career on the line like this if none of these things were true. I just don't believe that. Now, of course, we know with the courts and with the way that the lawsuits work, we understand that it's not necessarily about what's true and what's false. It's about what you can prove in a court of law. So even though the owner may have said, he may have really said, hey, I will give you $100,000 if you throw these games. I will give you $100K for each game that you lose. So just go out there and lose, and I'll give you $100K. It's quite possible that he said that. Even if he really did say that, it's all about proving it in court. Can you prove it? Can you prove that he actually said this? Unless you got him on tape, unless you got him recorded, or you can go to the extreme and have, several people vouch for you, hey, I was there when this, that, and the third happened. I heard him say it. Unless you got that behind you, it's going to be hard to really prove it, because now it's basically your word versus his, because all he has to say is, I didn't say that. So, now it's, he said, she said. Who do you believe? I just don't think that you take that type of chance with your career by lying. We know that the NFL has had its fair share of problems and issues with the hiring of minority candidates, which is why the Rooney Rule exists in the first place, which, thinking about it, it's really sad that it came down to that they basically said, you know what, this is so bad that we are going to force you to give a black person an interview. That's how bad it got. And when you look at the Rooney Rule, the Rooney Rule is basically a form of affirmative action. Those two things are very similar. So it's really sad that it came down to that. And I'm trying to remember exactly how long the Rooney Rule has been in effect. I think probably close to 20 years, I want to say. It's been around for a while, definitely longer than a decade, and it doesn't really seem to be working. So much so that they expanded the rule back in 2020 to include additional interviews for minority candidates. So now clubs are required to interview at least 2 external minority candidates for head coach openings and at least 1 minority candidate for any coordinator job. And even more recently, the NFL is providing compensatory picks for teams who can develop candidates in-house, minority candidates in-house. So whether it be coaches or executives, if they can develop those guys and get them hired on to other teams as general managers or as head coaches, well, they'll receive 2 compensatory picks. I think the 3rd round picks 2 years in a row. So, for example, the Rams, they had Brad Holmes, who is now the general manager for the Detroit Lions, but he worked for the Rams previously as the director of college scouting, and they received 2 compensatory picks for him getting hired on by the Detroit Lions as their general manager. So I guess one could say that they're trying. I guess you can't be mad at that, but the fact that they have to try that hard, there's obviously a problem there. I mean, if I have to keep giving you some type of incentive to do something, or constantly having to change the rules, well, you probably didn't want to do it anyway. So the fact that the NFL, they have to keep trying to, push these changes and constantly, changing things up, giving people incentives to hire black people, that tells me that the people who are doing the hiring didn't want to do it anyway. And I know I can hear somebody out there right now, well, you got black GMs out there and they don't hire black coaches. The black GM for Miami, yeah, he was black and he fired Brian Flores. First of all, stop talking like that. Second of all, shout out to I will give the NFL this. The NFL this year, they are going to go into the 2022 season with 7 black GMs. That is something to stand up for, and that's something to be excited for, because that is the most since 2016. So shout out to them for that. I'll give them that. Also, nobody's saying that just because you're a black GM that you gotta hire a black coach. Okay? Nobody's saying that. Also, y'all have to realize that these things don't get done in a vacuum. Okay? So just because you see the GM up there and his responsibilities include hiring a coach, well, that doesn't get done in a vacuum, and it doesn't get done by himself. I mean, you have the owner who is influencing the decision as well. And at the end of the day, whoever the owner wants, the owner gets, because, I don't know, that's the owner. So At the end of the day, if Shad Khan wants Urban Meyer, he's going to get Urban Meyer. If Jerry Jones wants Mike McCarthy, he's going to get Mike McCarthy. If Robert Kraft wants Bill Belichick or somebody else, he's going to get Bill Belichick or that somebody else. Point blank, period. Okay? Doesn't matter who the GM is, who the GM thinks he is. Doesn't matter. The ultimate influence comes from the owner. And all the owners in the NFL have been and are still all white. You know, this whole thing just reminds us that, black head coaches don't have the same leeway as their white counterparts do. And not even just in the NFL, but in life in general. Black people just aren't really afforded the same opportunities and afforded that same leeway and, that optimistic outlook that, people tend to give to white folks. Man, I just thought about it. I remember seeing a video probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. So some guy walked into the airport, right? So he walked to the airport, went through security, and just so happened he had a loaded firearm in his baggage. So went through the security checkpoint, and they discovered that he had a loaded handgun. So it was like a white guy. I think he was a veteran. And the way that they just talked to this guy, and was just so, easy going. And he was like, I'm sorry, I really didn't know. And at the end of the day, they just let him go. and now I don't know what TSA's policy is right now, because things always change. But as far as I know, you try to walk into any airport with a loaded handgun like that, and they discover you was trying to get on a plane with a loaded handgun, you probably finna at least go to jail. Okay, you at least finna walk out of there in handcuffs. Okay, so you got this white guy, and he's very nice, and speaking to him nicely, and they let him go. Now, do you think that I could get away with that as a black person? Because I don't think I can. I'm trying to remember who was that walked into the airport with, and I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but I'm trying to make a point. I'm trying to see who that was. It Joel Santana, the rapper Joel Santana. I think he got caught with a firearm in his baggage, the security checkpoint at the airport, and he ended up going to jail for it. If I'm not mistaken, somebody might have to fact check me, but basically my point is that black folks just ain't really afforded that same opportunity. Trust me, man, if I walk in anywhere, okay, and they know that I got a loaded firearm on me, it's going down. It's going down. And you look at this, you look at the NFL and the way things have worked with the coaches now. I'm trying to think. I can't even remember. I guess as of last week, or whenever Lovie Smith got hired on by the Texans, I can't really think of black coaches who got that second and third opportunity like white coaches do. I can't really think. I know I guess maybe Lovie Smith twice, right? Because Lovie Smith, he was the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and then he got fired by the Chicago Bears, even though he went 10-6 that year. But whatever, got fired, and then he coached down in Tampa Bay for a couple years, and got fired, and so now he's been rehired with he's gotten hired on by the Houston Texans. But I can't really think of anybody else. I guess maybe the last one before that was Jim Caldwell. Maybe Jim Caldwell. When he coached the Indianapolis Colts, and then he ended up getting fired after going 2-14 that season. That was the season that Peyton Manning broke his neck or some crap like that. I almost cursed. And then he went 2-14, and they fired him because, I don't know, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever on your team, ever in life, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever in life, gets injured, and your team falls apart, and you have to go out there with Curtis Painter and Jim Sorgi. You have to go out there and try to win games, and oh my God, you win 2 games, and you're surprised, and you fire the coach. Okay, whatever. But, you got Caldwell. He got fired by Indianapolis, and then got hired on by Detroit, And somehow, some way, nobody has hired Jim Caldwell since then, since he got fired from Detroit. So I can't really think, man. I can't really think of any examples for black head coaches. Like I can think of Mike McCarthy. Like Mike McCarthy got fired by Green Bay, hired by Dallas. I'm trying to think. Josh McDaniels recently, right? Josh McDaniels got fired by Denver back in, I don't know, what was it, 2011, 2012, something like that. And now he's with the Oakland Raiders. So white coaches tend to just get more opportunities. And if you're a black coach, you get that opportunity, you better make good use of it, because 9 times out of 10, if you fail, you're probably not going to get another opportunity. I'm trying to remember who that was. I think it was Chris Richard. Now, he was a black coach, a young black coach, and he was defense coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks for a little while, and then he ended up going to Dallas. And I remember he had a bad game. I can't remember whether it was a playoff game or a regular season game, and that was just it. That was just it. Like, he was a hot, buzzing candidate for a head coaching job, and I guess the people had their eye on him, and he had a bad game, and the defense had a bad game, and that was just it. Never heard any more chatter about him being a head coach ever again. That was him. I remember Leslie Frazier this year. Leslie Frazier, the defense coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, former head coach of the Minnesota Vikings from a while back. And they ended up giving up that score to Kansas City with 13 seconds left, and Kansas City ended up winning the game, and that was it. They heard nothing else about Leslie Frazier. Now, I don't know if he was actually going to realistically get a job, but all of that just went down the toilet. But you got somebody like Matt Patricia, a.k.a. Silent Bob. I call him Silent Bob because he looks like Silent Bob. You got him, who was the defense coordinator for the New England Patriots and ended up getting stumped by the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl and getting rolled over by Nick Foles, the backup quarterback at the time for the Philadelphia Eagles. And look what happened. He ended up getting a coaching job with Detroit. So that just couldn't be a black coach, man. Like, I could just see it now. Oh my God, black defensive coordinator. He got a backup quarterback, threw all on his deep. No. But man, somebody like Matt Patricia. As a Detroit Lions fan, y'all, I still can't believe we made that hire. Well, you know what? We're the Detroit Lions, so I can believe that we made that hire. I take that back. But I can be on this topic all day, man. I haven't even touched on Eric Bieniemy and how tragic it is that he hasn't gotten an opportunity to be an NFL head coach, even though he's been the offensive coordinator for one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL for quite some time now. And for some reason, everybody's so concerned about him calling the plays, but I can't think of, has anybody who has ever coached under Andy Reid called the plays? I mean, seriously, as long as I've known Andy Reid to exist, I've always seen him with that big ass play call sheet. So Doug Peterson didn't do it. He got a head coaching job. Matt Nagy, I think maybe he did it for a while. Regardless, he got a head coaching job. And Andy Reid has come out and said he said that Eric Bieniemy calls the plays. So I don't know. All I'm saying is that it doesn't make any sense that he doesn't have a head coaching job or hasn't had the opportunity to be an NFL head coach. Haven't gotten into that. Also, another thing that tends to happen is that you have these teams, and for some reason, it's like they hired a black coach to come in and lose, which it goes back to Brian Flores' lawsuit, right? They wanted him to lose. So it's like they hired Brian Flores to come to Miami to lose. Like, hey, we really love you, New England Patriots. Woohoo, Bill Belichick. It's like, all right, so what we need you to do is we need you to lose all the games. And then what's going to happen is you're going to start losing. And then we're going to get a good draft pick. And then we can draft a quarterback high. And then we'll give you another year with him. But then you're not going to be good enough. And then we're going to say, okay, well, this guy isn't good enough. So we got to get the hot, hip, the young offensive coordinator in here like a Kellen Moore. somebody like that to really coach up the quarterback, and we'll ride off into the sunset. So I feel like that's what tends to happen, and I'm glad people are kind of catching on to it, because I've been peeping that out for a while. Like, even with the Cleveland Browns and Hugh Jackson, and I'm not saying that Hugh Jackson is Bill Walsh or anything like that, and I'm not saying that he didn't deserve to get fired. I'm just saying, man, you bring in Hugh Jackson, and look, bro, I don't care who you are. You can be Bill Walsh, you can be Bill Belichick. I don't care who you are. You ain't winning with Deshaun Kaiser. Okay? You're not winning with Deshaun Kaiser. He had to run Deshaun Kaiser out there. I don't even know if Deshaun Kaiser is still in the league. Okay? And if he is, he's probably buried on somebody's depth chart. Third string quarterback, probably on somebody's practice squad. Okay? I don't care who you are. You're not winning with Deshaun Kaiser. You're not going out there winning games with Kevin Hogan. Okay? No, this is not Hulk Hogan's brother. At least I don't think Hulk Hogan brother. Y'all get that? But anyway, you're just not. Like, these are the quarterbacks that Hugh Jackson was going out there with. I don't care who you are. You can be Bill Walsh. You can be Andy Reid. You can be Belichick. You can be Sean McVay. You can be whoever. You're not winning games with those quarterbacks. I don't care how much of an offensive genius you are, which they like to use that term too. Offensive genius. I've never heard anybody in the history of forever call a black coach a genius. I've never heard that ever in life. Have y'all? I ain't never heard nobody describe anybody. I've heard Bill Belichick be called a defensive genius. Rex Ryan, when he was in the league, defensive genius and offensive genius. Sean McVay, he's a genius. And Andy Reid, offensive genius. I've never heard a black coach called a genius ever in life. Okay? I think about somebody like Todd Bowles, man. Todd Bowles literally came up with the formula for slowing down the Kansas City Chiefs, okay, in that Super Bowl. And I ain't never heard nobody call him a defensive genius or a defensive wizard or anything like that. I mean, literally, like, do y'all realize the Kansas City Chiefs didn't score a touchdown in that Super Bowl? They did not score a touchdown. I don't want to hear nothing about them missing their two starting offensive tackles. That's Patrick Mahomes. They can score one touchdown, and they didn't score a touchdown. I ain't heard nothing about Todd Bowles being a defensive genius, nothing. But that's beside the point, man. Hopefully everything is everything with Brian Flores' lawsuit. I just hope that everybody can focus on the bigger picture and not necessarily put all the focus on the lawsuit. The NFL has a problem. They know they have a problem, which is why they've tried to institute the Rooney Rule and made tweaks to the Rooney Rule and have tried to put some rules in place and incentivize the hiring of black people and of minorities. So there's a problem there, and everybody knows it. But that's all I got for you today. Hope everybody enjoyed. Leave a comment, make sure that you follow/like all of the social media handles in the description. The Facebook page, Twitter page, Instagram page, YouTube page, all of that, man. And I will talk to you guys next time. As always, count your blessings, not your problems. Peace.